The Temporal Observation Corps had been charting the boundaries of causality for 211 years. Its selection rate was lower than any military academy in the coalition. One applicant in 4,000 accepted, and of those, fewer than a third survived their first deployment with their memories intact. The Corps did not train soldiers. It trained observers who could stand at the edges of time without losing the thread of who they were when they came back. In 211 years, only 43 beings had returned from a deployment past the horizon marker, the theoretical point where causality itself became unreliable. Of those 43, 6 had come back able to speak coherently about what they had seen. Of those 6, only one had gone past it twice. Station Ilvrin kept a wall for the ones who did not return. It was long. It was updated quarterly. Everyone who trained there walked past it on the way to breakfast. This is where Corin Ash's file landed, 11 years after everyone assumed he was dead. Director Vashti Orel had read the file 3 times before she believed it, and a 4th time after Deep Archive confirmed the biometric match. Corin Ash, human, presumed lost at the horizon marker during the Meridian expedition, had been logged as deceased for 11 years, 4 months, and 6 days. His return beacon had activated in a sector that should not have had a beacon to activate, transmitting a single verification code that predated the core current encryption standard by 2 full protocol generations. A code that had been retired before some of the current cadets were born. When the retrieval team brought him in, he had asked for water, asked what year it was, and then asked quietly whether the Sarin Accord had held. It had. He had not seemed surprised. He had seemed like a man confirming a note in a ledger. He did not talk about where he had been. Not to the retrieval team, not to the medical staff, not to the review board that spent 6 weeks trying to reconcile his internal chronometer readings with anything that made physical sense. He answered every question he was asked directly and declined every question that asked him to elaborate, and he did both in the same even tone, as though there were no difference between them. He was assigned quarters. He unpacked one bag. He requested his old training blade back from core storage. A plain observation-issue combat knife, nothing decorative, the kind every cadet carried and most eventually retired to a display case. He did not retire his. He kept it on him. 11 years missing, and Corin Ash enrolled in the refresher course like a man returning from a long leave rather than the far side of time itself. The other cadets did not know what to do with him. He was 31 according to his file and looked it, which unsettled people more than aging would have. He sat in the back of lecture halls. He was polite to instructors and unremarkable in every visible way except one. His eyes did not track a room the way other people's did. They did not widen at sudden noise, did not flick toward movement out of instinct. They moved when he decided to move them and not before. Cadets who studied combat readiness for a living found this more disturbing than anything he could have said. It was Cadet Ressa Dawn who finally said something, 3 weeks in the mess hall, in front of enough people that it counted as a stage. Ressa was second year, top of her cohort's tactical simulation scores, and she had the specific confidence of someone who had never had a scenario she couldn't solve on the first attempt. She asked her question the way certain cadets ask questions about people who make them uneasy, which is to say, with the timing and tone of someone who had rehearsed it in her head more than once. So, she said, loud enough for the tables around them to go quiet in that particular way rooms go quiet when they sense entertainment coming. 11 years past the horizon marker. Command wants to know if we should be impressed or worried. So which is it? How many timelines did you personally erase out there? Just curious what the tally is. Several cadets smiled. It was the specific category of smile that happens in rooms where a hierarchy is being tested to see if it holds. Instructor Havorson, at the head of the senior table, said nothing. He had pulled Corin's incident logs from Deep Archive during the second week of the refresher course, the ones sealed under Director Orel's authority, and he had been waiting since then for a discussion that would make it appropriate to bring them out. This was not an accident. He had chosen this seat at this hour deliberately. Corin set down his utensil. He looked at Ressa the way a man looks at a question he considers legitimate, which is to say without any particular weight behind the looking. "That's a fair question," he said, in the tone of someone who genuinely thought so. "Do you mean events I caused directly, or the total downstream count that core analysis attributes to my presence?" Ressa blinked. "There's a difference." "There's a difference," Corin said. He told her the first number. The room did not go loud. It went the opposite of loud, the specific, total silence that happens when a number lands somewhere a joke was supposed to be standing. Ressa's smile did not disappear all at once. It stopped the way a wave stops when it reaches the shallows, first at her mouth, then her eyes, then whatever had been holding her posture upright a moment earlier. She said, that can't be the direct count. That's not a number a person causes, that's a number an event causes. You asked for direct, Corin said. I gave you direct. And the total. Corin was quiet for a moment, not hesitating, calculating, the way a man checks a figure against a ledger he keeps somewhere private. He gave her the second number. It was larger. Instructor Halvorsen set down his own cup, unhurried, and reached into the satchel beside his chair. What he pulled out was not dramatic in the way academy training simulations were dramatic. It was documentary. Sealed core footage, 5 case files, each with a header stamped in the same retired protocol code Corin's return beacon had used. He set a portable display in the center of the table and let it run. The first file was the Meridian Reef, a fracture point where an entire trade convoy, 6 ships, 312 crew, had been caught inside a closing time loop with no observed way out. Corin's incident log showed a single entry, manual override of the containment field from inside the loop, using an authorization code that had not existed yet at the time he used it. The convoy survived. The log noted, without commentary, that he had spent what his internal chronometer measured as 4 subjective years inside that fracture to make the override work, though external core time recorded the whole event as lasting 11 minutes. By the second case file, nobody at the table was eating. The third file was smaller in scale and somehow harder to watch. A single research outpost, 41 people, cut off behind a causality fold that Core Command had already written off as unrecoverable. Corin's log entry for that one was 4 lines long. The outpost survivor manifest was 41 names. By the fourth case file, Ressa was not smiling. She was watching the display with the specific stillness of someone doing a calculation that was going to take longer than the meal period to finish. The fifth file had no rescue in it. It was the horizon marker itself, time-stamped 11 years earlier, the last confirmed footage before Corin Ash was logged as deceased. It showed him walking forward into a boundary the display's own metadata labeled unstable. No return path modeled, without turning around, without hesitating. The way a man walks into work he has already decided to do. Nobody in the mess hall said anything for the length of that clip. Instructor Halvorsen closed the display. The Corps wrote him off, he said to the table, not raising his voice because he did not need to. 11 years ago. There is a memorial plaque with his name on the wall. I walked past it 3 weeks ago and had to have it taken down myself, because apparently nobody updates that wall until someone tells them to. He looked at Corin, not unkindly. You could have told them what year it was faster. You had the codes. Corin considered that. I wanted to confirm the accord held first, he said. The date could wait. Halvorsen almost smiled at that. Almost. Ressa did not leave the table right away. She sat with the numbers a moment longer, doing the kind of recalculating that does not show on a person's face so much as in how still they go. The direct count and the total, she said finally, quiet now, not performing anything for the room anymore. They're different by an order of magnitude. They usually are, Corin said. That's what the total accounts for. Everyone downstream of everyone I pulled out. It compounds. You've been carrying that number for 11 years. I've been carrying it longer than that, Corin said. The years just caught up eventually. She did not have anything to say to that. Nobody did. She stood, gathered her tray, and before she left the table, she said the only thing that was left to say, which was not an apology exactly, because Corin had not asked for one, but was the shape an apology takes when a person has just finished recalculating everything they believed about who they were talking to. I'm glad the accord held, she said. So am I, Corin said. She left without making a scene of leaving, which was, in its own way, the most respectful thing she could have done. Corin picked up his tray a few minutes later. He picked up the training blade from where it sat beside his plate. The same plain observation issue knife, retrieved from storage on his first day back, carried since without explanation to anyone who asked. He had carried a version of it into the horizon marker 11 years ago. He carried this one out of the mess hall now, the way a man carries a tool he still has use for, not a relic he keeps to be looked at. He did not look back at the table. He was not thinking about the room. He had a refresher course exam in the morning, and there was a section on containment field theory he wanted to review, on the theory that even a man who had rewritten containment fields from the inside owed the coursework the same attention as anyone else. Director Orell's office overlooked the training yard. She had been watching the mess hall's internal feed from her desk, not because she doubted Havorson's judgment, but because she had wanted to see it herself, the moment the Corps finally understood what had walked back through its doors. She opened Corin Ash's active assessment file. The old entry 11 years stale still read, status deceased, presumed. Meridian Expedition Horizon Marker Incident. She deleted it. She sat with the cursor over the new field for a moment, the way a person sits with a decision that only needs 3 words to hold everything true about it.